Your first app was a physics calculator.
Yes, it was. And
You went in on the deep end. Welcome to Breakdown. Today I'm joined by Issy Doran, an intern here at Rocket Genius, who's agreed to come onto the show and talk about what it's like getting started in the tech and WordPress industry in 2022. Welcome, Issy.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Thanks so much for coming on. I thought we could get started by just kind of giving viewers an overview of your background and what you've been doing here at Rocket Genius.
Well, to start, what I've been doing here at Rocket Genius, I started in June, right in the beginning, and I started actually over on the product development team, and I was a quality assurance intern, so a QA intern, and basically what we work to do is going through smoke testing and kind of trying to break any new features that the product development team has created and that they're going to implement into Gravity Forms as a whole. So before those go to market, we have to make sure that everything looks and works as it should. So us QAs go through and try and test and break it as much as we can. So I started over there and it was a great learning experience. There's so much that goes on behind closed doors that you really don't see until you're deep into, the product team or whatever team it may be. So that was fun. And then from there, in September, I moved over to the marketing team. And
Our
since
team.
then, yes, happy to be here. And since then, I've just been kind of working on our TikTok and just trying to integrate the social medias more together between Instagram, YouTube, getting some TikToks and shorts together, those sort of things. So just working on that. And also, I was able to put out a blog post which talks about my whole journey, kind of getting into this tech space and starting this internship as a whole.
Yeah, I'll have that blog post linked in the description. I highly recommend checking it out. It's super fascinating, and it's actually one of the things that spurred on this conversation. I found that you had like a very interesting journey getting to where you are today, and I was hoping we could talk about that. So you're currently in school now, correct?
Yes, so I am currently a senior. Senior last semester this fall, over at NJIT, and I'm studying mathematics, so a BS in mathematical sciences. And it's been a journey to get here for sure.
It looks like it's been a journey for you, not only in school, but outside of school as well. It seems like you did a lot of background, like research and prep work, even outside of the college space.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, so I'll take you back a little further. I've been doing a lot just in my extracurricular time and outside of school, but really that started when I was in the seventh or eighth grade. I struggled with math. So I struggled just learning, and it seems interesting because now I'm a math major. But I was really just having a hard time getting the grasp of like algebra and whatnot. And thankfully, at that point, my parents had found Khan Academy, and it's an online resource. It's free. And at the time, they would use they still use this mastery level of training, but basically, you'd have to complete 10 questions in a row, and then, you'd be able to move on to the next lesson. You have exercises and videos that you work through. But I found that this really helped me just to like kind of fill in the blanks that my foundations of math were missing from the classroom. And I was actually able to, because step back there, I had struggled in math seventh and eighth grade, and it actually put me behind. So I wasn't able to graduate with calculus as a senior. But from my Khan Academy work, I was able to double up as like my math studies once I was a sophomore in high school. So I was then able to graduate with calculus on track as I was hoping to because I had done all the extra learning in Khan Academy. And with that, then that kind of showed me I can learn anything online if I look for it and just kind of find it. And that's what introduced me to Code Academy. And from there, I was able to just, start learning what coding is, what a website is outside of like, me using a website for my own fun. But how do you get colors on the page? How do you get a border that's dotted versus a 3 pixel width? Those sort of things. So I completed some Code Academy courses. And from there, it really just opened me up to learning online and also just really grew my passion for math and coding as a whole.
So transitioning then into your experience at college and at university. Um, what classes would you say? Because I know in my own personal experience, when I went to college, I had no idea what to do. I had
Yeah.
no idea what I wanted to do with my life, what classes I wanted to take, what would be worth my time, what wasn't.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had that vision locked in with Code Academy. What classes in college helped facilitate that learning? Would you say, like,
Yeah.
what were the most helpful and beneficial?
Yeah, so once I got to college, and over at NJIT, they have a wonderful computer science program. It's one of the top 50 for the Polytech in the country, so it's a great offering that they have, and I kind of wanted to dive into it. But since I was focused in the math, I wasn't sure if I wanted to double or just take a few courses in computer science. So I decided to just take a few courses. I took a Python intro course as well as a Java intro course. And after taking these, I thought it was good just to see how computer science is offered at the collegiate level versus online resources. And I just found that what I was able to kind of do with my time, since the math was a little bit more trying and that's what I was more focused on, I just decided I was going to learn my code online rather than through school. Not that their program isn't good, it's just, it felt dated and a little bit isolated to you're learning Python or you're learning Java, whereas online you can do anything. So, with that idea, then flash forward to after freshman year, um, um, my first summer after college. I didn't have an internship. I didn't have a job. My dad had just moved out of state, and I knew I was going to be traveling to see him. So I figured, let me find a project that I can work on rather than, and taking an internship or something. So I actually found a Stanford course online through iTunes University. It was free and it was how to create an iOS app. So I was like, this is awesome. This is exactly what I need and it will keep me busy. So I followed along this course. It had all of the slides, the videos, and also like coding examples that you needed attached to it. So you could follow along as if you were taking the course real time. And once I had completed it at about like mid July of 2018, I figured, you know what? Let me try and actually build out a project further and see if I can create an app. And I did. So I had
Did you?
created, yes, it's a physics calculator called Knowledge of Nature. And it's on the App Store. And basically, it was something
So
that
your first app was a physics calculator.
yes, it was.
You
And
you
it
went
was
in on the deep end.
I figured, honestly, the structure of putting it together, it seemed, pretty not easy, but it was something that I could follow and recreate. So I figured, you know what, this is a good tester. And going through math at NJIT, we had to take physics courses, and those were the ones I struggled with the most. So I figured if I can create something that would help somebody in my position, that would be great. Hindsight, I would have loved to have something like this.
Yeah, that would
So
totally be me. I took physics in high school, was terrible at it. I took it again in college. I thought, oh, I'm older. I'll get this now. No, I'm still terrible at physics. So
yeah,
I
and go.
I could have used your app is what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Well, it's out there, knowledge of nature, and basically any equation that you'd see from Physics 1, Physics 2, those are the NJIT courses, but overall it's kinematics, oh my God, I can't speak, electromagnetism, and modern physics are all included in the app.
Oh,
So,
that's so cool.
yeah,
Well
yeah. So
done.
thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah, no problem. Between physics and coding, and all these other things that you experimented with and tried throughout your time in school, how did you decide what path you wanted to go on, or is that something you're still figuring out?
Yeah, so I think it's something that I'm still figuring out. I know that I'll want to do something in the realms of project owner or project manager, but basically, I just wanted to gain as much experience as I can. And with that, I wanted to look online to find just as many resources as I could between Coursera and LinkedIn Learning. And I feel like that helped navigate me to be able to do kind of the dabbling between positions that I've done in my internship here, between working on the product team and working on the marketing team. Since they're both key parts of the business, you really need to understand how they work and how they function. But being able to get experience on both positions and both teams, I think, has been instrumental in kind of building that for me to be able to be a project manager or product owner at some point down the line. But still, working to fine tune that.
Absolutely, and that's awesome. It's interesting to hear how much of your process involves resources outside of the typical academia institute, because I find that that's very similar to my own journey. I actually got my degree in English. I'm a video producer now, so it's
Yep.
I, I guess I use English when writing scripts and speaking, but
Yes.
but LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, those are all resources I used a lot to learn programs like After Effects, as
Yep.
well as I found like just individual outside of the realm of academia, like just courses you could take that actually helped me probably more than my time at school learn the tools and the skills that I have for my job today. So uh,
Yeah.
there's a whole world of possibility out there, even if you're not in a position where you can't go to school or don't want to go to school. There's still a whole world of learning out there that you can use to get started in the tech industry. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think just like once you kind of fine tune what you want to work on, it's easy then to find, where it is because you can search it. And that's really what I used in my approach for learning for this internship. I knew Gravity Forms was on WordPress. We do some sort of coding. It's a plugin, so maybe some plugin development. And that's what I found on LinkedIn Learning. I was able to find specifically using Gravity Forms in WordPress, which is a course on there, and then some other WordPress courses such as PHP for WordPress, plugin development, WP, CLI, so learning command line, and just really honed in on those. So I knew that if this job actually came through and I was able to, be a part of the team, I was trained and skilled in exactly what we'd be working in, using the Gravity Forms product, knowing how it'd be implemented and applied, but also knowing how to use PHP specifically for these types of situations, and also kind of how the plugin was created because I had taken the plugin development course. So if you want to learn something, it's definitely out there.
So you had an end goal in mind. You wanted an internship here at Rocky Genius working with the Gravity Forms team. So you researched Gravity Forms and learned all you can about the product, the development, everything that goes into it to pursue that goal.
Yep, exactly.
That's really awesome. And it clearly worked out.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And, specifics into, once I got onto the product team, obviously they had their whole onboarding process and going through. So you're not just thrown into the deep end, but it made going through that much easier and made it so I could jump in and start taking PRs within my first 2 weeks rather than, a month down the line or once I was more comfortable. So it really helped the whole
Yeah,
thing.
and I would say, knowing as much as you learning as much as you can about where you're applying for, be it a job, be it an internship. That's getting as much as you can to give yourself the upper hand. I think is a really important way to help make yourself stand out, especially in a
Absolutely.
world where you know so much is online these days that you're not just competing with people in your local area, you're competing with the world. So you're going to want every advantage you can, and sounds like you took advantage of every resource you had.
Yeah, no, I definitely tried. And if I was stuck, I just looked further. If I found that LinkedIn Learning didn't have exactly what I needed, like I did do an additional course. It was a $5 course, but it's well worth it. And I think it's $5 like forever. So once you purchase it, it's yours. It's called Learn Enough to Be Dangerous Command Line. And, that is specific for my product development position, but it was so useful and it made it just it made everything easier being that I did the extra research and I just put time into, myself and learning it so I could be a better programmer in the end.
For sure. And what challenges would you say you faced along the way that you've had to overcome?
I think it's still in the realm of learning, but just understanding that it takes time. You have to be patient with yourself and the whole learning process. When you're taking on something new, give yourself time to internalize it and really understand what you're going through. And if you have a question, be open to asking those around you or asking Google. I'm sure somebody else has had the same question as
Yeah.
you or has had the same, quandary before. So use what you have and just be patient. Understand that it will come to you. Just take your time and push forward, and you'll be able to get all the knowledge you need.
Yeah, and then there's nothing wrong with just not understanding something and being able to just say, I don't get this, I need help. I find that you learn best when you're able to just realize, oh, I don't fully understand this. That helps you formulate what questions you want to ask and what knowledge you want to seek out. And I think that's a
Absolutely.
really important quality to have if you're doing self-learning.
Absolutely. And like being able to point out what you don't know, because sometimes that's the question. Like you might
Yeah.
be engulfed in something and not even know where to turn next. So just being open to the fact of I'm lost. How can I get help? And maybe even taking a moment away from it, learning something else, or just giving yourself a little break and coming back to it is honestly the biggest challenge for me because I like to push through, but just knowing you'll get it in
I,
time.
I can really relate to that because I feel like when I try to learn things, the minute I get to that I'm lost stage, I start to panic. And I
Yeah.
think learning to fight that maybe it might be your natural response to panic or to get frustrated that you can't learn this, but like that's actually part of the learning process is that I don't know this, I don't understand this. And then you have to look at it on a deeper level. What don't I understand? What questions do I need to be asking? What information do I need to be looking for to help myself learn
Yeah.
this? But the first part of that, for me at least, is just fighting off that feeling of, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah,
And just you got to
absolutely.
stick with yourself and be like, no, this is part of the process. You've absolutely got this. This is
Yeah.
that feeling of I can't do this is part of the process of getting to do this.
Yep, exactly. You're pushing yourself enough to get there. Now just breathe and then you get to the next bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just telling yourself, that like you're not the first person that's been here. You're not the first person you're almost guaranteed not to be the first person who's had this question. With your time here at Rocket Genius working with Gravity Forms, what's it been like working in QA and then switching to marketing? Like, well, what are those two environments like? How are they similar? How are they different?
So, they're similar in the sense that there's great team communication and team support. Every team is super supportive, and everybody wants you to succeed. So, if you have questions or you need help with something, everybody's there. So, that's been great all across the board. But I think overall, they are different in their structure, which has been interesting to see. With product development, overall, you have kind of just a different structure of how you have to do things with you're working on a specific feature or a specific request, and you kind of have say like a 2 week timeline of what you're working through. You have a little bit more check-ins, making sure that the project is moving along as you would hope. And specifically with QA, there was more it was more streamlined in the fact of, you know what you're going to do. You get your PR or a smoke test, go through what you need to, and then on to the next and communicate as issues come up or as you approve things. Whereas with marketing, we have all kind of our own realm. Yes, QA was its own realm, but I work for the TikTok portion of our marketing. So I'm doing the videos, the editing, the storybooking, everything that goes around making the TikToks. And Dustin, you do the YouTubes, and
Yeah.
Megan does our blogs, and Melissa does design. We all do we all were in more positions across the board, but we're all kind of have our hands in different pots. And while we come together and we collaborate to make sure all those pieces are moving, we're responsible for our own little entity of the marketing. So I think just kind of, our process is different. And where with QA and product development, you're meeting daily, you're on kind of that sprint sort of schedule. Marketing is more ad hoc, and you meet once a week, but you're communicating as you need, and
Yeah.
you're just more self-reliant on what you have to get done and what you're putting out for the company. So there's the difference
Yeah.
there, but they're both great workflows, honestly.
Across the board, communication between teams, whether it is meeting daily on sprints or whether it is more ad hoc like we are in marketing, communication's vital. You've got to
Absolutely.
have channels for that. Be it if you're not meeting every day, you got to have channels like Slack where you can keep everyone updated on what you're doing, check in and talk to each other. If you wanted to get into the WordPress space in 2022, what would be your key piece of advice?
My key piece of advice would be always be open to learning. There's always going to be more to learn, and use your online resources, free or even close to free, small little fees. It's worth it for your education. Nobody can ever take your knowledge away from you. So just always be open to learning and use what you have available.
Well, thank you, Izzy, so much for coming on. And if you enjoy what we're doing here, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.
And be sure to check us out on TikTok at Gravity Forms.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.